I was flying without a net. That paycheck wasn't coming every 2 weeks. You had to go out there and make the money, and hopefully the monies came in. You don't have to be the smartest person the smartest person in the world to convince a jury of 12 people that your client is not guilty. I cried because it was just so pressured. I didn't want this kid to go to jail for something like this.
Welcome to another episode of Blueprints Podcast. Today, I am privileged to have Mr. Juan Campos on the podcast. He's a client of mine for the last, I believe, 3 or 4 years, him and his wife. And he was a defense attorney, still practicing for over 40 years. Is that right?
And I've been practicing for, since about 46 years.
Sheesh.
I mean, I've been admitted 48 years.
My goodness, that's long as some people have been alive. That's quite a while, man.
It's been a long journey.
Yeah, I can imagine. So today we're going to kind of just chat about your journey,
Sure.
where it started, where it went, where it's going to continue to go, and hopefully you can impart some wisdom on the younger generation.
It'd be my pleasure.
On your journey. All right, thank you for taking the time, man. I really, really appreciate that. I know you're a busy guy. You're always golfing. All right.
Well, that's not being busy, but if I'm doing other things, I'm constantly on my iPad and computer to look at things. So it's that doesn't relate to golf or anything else. So it's my pleasure being here.
Thank you again, man. So let's start where it started. I know you have the hat on from Santurce.
Yeah, okay.
Puerto Rico.
I was born in 1952, December 30th. The only thing Mike Tiger Woods, LeBron James, and Sandy Koufax are those older guys and I have in common. I was moved. My parents moved from Puerto Rico to New York City, precisely at Barrio. We lived on 97th Street between Lexington Avenue and Park Avenue. And we lived in a tenement building there, but it was basically, at that time, it was half Irish, half Puerto Rican. And believe it or not, the Irish and the Puerto Rican got along like
seamlessly.
Peas and pods. Yeah, they were no problems. So we lived there I moved there, when I was 5 years old. And then about 4 years later, 3 or 4 years later, we moved to Camden, New Jersey, of all places. The reason we moved there was because my aunts on my mother's side, 2 of them lived there, and I guess for employment purposes for my dad, they moved there in Camden, New Jersey, and then we moved back to Puerto Rico, and we lived with my paternal grandparents who lived in Old San Juan. Matter of fact, I lived a block away from the president's palace,
really?
Right? And then our house overlooked La Puerta de San Juan, which is right in the bay. So, and it was nice. We lived there for about 3 years, I believe. It was very, really nice. I went to school in Puerto Rico for a while. And then we moved back to New York, and we moved back to New York City, again to Manhattan, to El Barrio. And my parents were divorced, and then my mother and my stepfather, great guy, they lived on 97th Street and Lexington Avenue. And then I went to school at high school in the Bronx, an all-boys high school, Cardinal Hayes High School. I graduated from Cardinal Hayes in 1970. Then I got a full scholarship to go to Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Academic scholarship?
Yes.
Yeah?
And basically, those were the 4 greatest years of my life. And it's during the time when the Woodstock era sort of happened. Yeah. It was towards the waning years of the Woodstock era, but it was still in effect. I met a lot. My horizons opened up because as a Puerto Rican kid, you basically knew El Barrio, and then now you get people from different parts of the country, and I met some great people there. I mean, people who still to this day are my close friends. From then, I graduated from Marist College, and then I got another full scholarship to go to law school. And I went to Hofstra University Law School in Hempstead, New York, which is Long Island. And it was shocking. I mean, it was a really tough ride for me, even though I thought of myself as trying to, being a person who's, I think, quote, smart.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get the hang of it for the first year. And it was it was a different experience. But after a while, I got the hang of it. And thank God I graduated from Marist College in 1977. So in 1977, then I applied for a job with the Legal Aid Society, and I got a job there. Then in 19, excuse me, in 19, I took the bar exam, and I'll be quite honest, I failed the New York State bar exam the first time I took it. I missed it by 1 point.
What's the score that you need for?
No, it's not a score. What they do is at that time they changed it, but at that time it was you get 120 multiple choice questions, 60 on one day and 60 the next day, and then you get 6 essays. If memory serves me right, I believe it was either 3 or 4 essays. I remember 6 essays is wrong. 3 or 4 essays one day and 3 or 4 essays the next day. The multiple choice questions. Let me tell you something. It says A, B, C, D. All those answers could be so close that it was really difficult. And then you take the essays. The essays are the most difficult part because in one question they'll have like civil procedure. What is that? They'll say, how do you sue somebody? How do you get them in court? What happens here? What happened here? What possible defenses the person may have? And you have to all answer it in a way to show the examiner that you know New York law and what New York law applies to each question.
So back then, was it being graded by somebody, or was it a system that it ran through?
No, it was being graded by examiners. They took your answers to your questions, and they wanted to see whether you have a
wow. So it wasn't like a machine that they ran through, and it was just
no.
You got X amount of questions right or wrong, and then that's
no. Especially with the essays. No, in the essays you have to show a mastery of New York law, and in one question you can have 5 areas of the law. So it was real difficult. But what happened was, not only did I fail, but I was surprised that some of the smartest people that I knew had failed also, but not that many. But it was about, I believe it was about 4 or 5 of us who were really, who got together afterwards. And then we figured out what was wrong. What was wrong is the writing. It's the way you answer the questions. That was the problem.
So they're looking for certain verbiage, or
no,
they use it for certain
certain way. How do you taking the test? That's basically what it was.
How you illustrate it?
How you answered your essays in a way that the examiners would know that he knows what's going on. So the second time around, all of us took a course by an old man. I still remember him. His name is Cass, K-A-S-S. Took it on Sundays from 9 to 1. And to this day, I still remember what he always used to tell me. He just says, and once you answer the question, show the examiner that you know the law. Milk the question. And that's what we did. Unbelievably. All of us passed. All of us passed.
Really?
And it was just the exam taking. That's what it is. And I believe that a lot of it, that's attributable to a lot of Hispanics, blacks and Hispanics also who don't get the same type of education as people could really afford a real great education, is that on standardized tests, they may be good at, they're smart people, and academically in school they get good grades, but when they take these standardized tests, they don't do well. I remember when I took my LSATs, which is before that, I scored poorly. But if it wasn't because of my academic grades being so good, I would have never gotten into law school.
Do you remember what poorly was back then?
Oh my God, I don't remember. But I know it was poor. But I never did well on a standardized test. Never. That's why I always laughed that when I became an attorney and I was in court and I saw some lawyers, some prosecutors or something, and that guy went to Harvard, that guy went to Yale, that guy went to Columbia. I said, oh yeah, well, he doesn't know how to try a case. And believe me, they may be those people. I'm not to put them down. They could be all academia, but they don't know what life is all about. Meaning, how to put academia in a certain sense of the facts of your case, how to try a case. You don't have to be the smartest person the smartest person in the world to convince a jury of 12 people that your client is not guilty. You just have to be diligent. You have to have some knowledge of the law, obviously, but you have to put the issues, and create a defense so that you could convince. You have to convince only one juror, because then you get a mistrial. But I try to convince all 12. That's my feel. And you got to convince them that this guy over there is not guilty. He may be guilty. I used to say to a jury, see that guy right there? Right now, all of you, even though they're in jury selection, you said, oh, you could be fair and impartial and say that, give this guy a fair trial. But all of you saying, this guy must have done something. Otherwise, why would he be here? That's That's basically the issue. But that's not the standard in a criminal case. What I'm trying to get to is that despite the fact that a lot of the 5 or 6 of us, failed and passed, all 5 or 6 of us went on to great careers. I mean, some better careers than I had, because it was just just one hurdle to get over. I never forgotten that when I got the results for the second time, I was in my bedroom window and I called up. I couldn't wait. They told me that the results were out, but I couldn't wait for the results. So I called the New York State bar exam people, and I told them my name, and they said, "Yes, your name is so. Where do you live?" I said, "So." And I was looking outside my window in the Bronx, because I lived in the Bronx at that time, and there was a church with a big cross, and you could see it from my window. I lived on the 6th floor, and I was looking at that cross, and I'm saying, "I'm praying to God. I'm promising me everything other than being a priest.
If you just let me pass this,
other than being a priest, if you let me pass." And when she said you passed, I hung up and I said, "Did she say you passed?" I had to call her again because I wanted to make sure that I did pass.
So back then they mailed you the results?
Yeah, they mailed the results. But it came out of the New York Times. It usually came out of the New York Times the next day.
If you passed?
They published the results. Not the people the results of who passed. They used to do that. Yeah.
Why? What was the purpose of that?
Just to notify you that you passed. I believe it was the New York Times. If not, they put it definitely in the Law Journal. But I wasn't getting a Law Journal. But basically, they told you. You know.
You're talking about the New York Times, the newspaper, correct?
New York Times is a newspaper, but basically it's a lawyer's newspaper. Oh no, the New York Times you're talking about, or the New York Journal? Yeah, the New York Times. But I believe at that time, if my memory served me right, I think it was the New York Times. But also, they surely posted it in the New York Law Journal, which is a lawyer's paper.
Yeah,
but basically,
I wonder why they did that.
Just to notify you that you passed. Basically, that's it.
Yeah, I guess we were looking forward to seeing the paper to see if your name was in there. It's kind of like making a basketball team or something, right?
What was 3 years of law school all about? To get your, not only to get your degree, but then after that, to get your license to practice, to put what you learned in law school to the test.
That's funny. Similar to your story about failing tests or passing tests, I failed my real estate exam numerous times, and I failed my license exam to do what I do. I failed it once. I failed it by, I think it was 2 points. You needed a 70 to pass. I got a 68. And then when I did pass, it was the second time, and I think I got a 70 on the nose. And then the real estate one, the printer jammed, because they would give you the results instantly as soon as you came out of the room. And the printer jammed, and the lady, I almost had a heart attack. And she was like, "Oh, don't worry, you passed." So similar to your story.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, wait. And then I was like, let me wait for her to give me the paper. And she gave me the paper, and it said pass. That one, they don't score.
It's uncanny that some of the most important things in our lives, we get so pressurized about it, And then when you think about it later on, yeah. But I'll tell you right now,
1,000%.
I'll tell you right now, to this day, and that happened in 1970. I passed in 1978. I still get nightmares, bad dreams that they're telling me that I didn't pass, or that I have to, or that I have to take it over again, even despite the fact that I'm already an attorney. I said, "Why do I have to take it over again? Why is that?" And the answer is never given to me in the dream, but I get it once in a little dream, and I said, "Boy, that's a bad dream."
Man,
and I'll tell you one other thing. I hated law school.
So would you say, was your goal always to go to law school, or what?
Always.
Why? Why law? Why not? I mean, you're a smart guy, obviously. So why not a doctor? Why not an engineer?
I always ask myself that. I don't know. I guess it goes back to, because I remember I looked at my high school yearbook and it said, "What's to be an attorney?" I don't know.
Really?
I just don't. It just came out of there. The reason I said that I didn't like law school. Law school, college, I loved. Law school wasn't fun. I guess because I found it so difficult. That's why. But I could remember to this day my high school graduation. It was at St. Patrick's Cathedral. I remember who was there. I could remember who was there, who attended, my members of my family, who spoke. I could remember my college graduation up in Poughkeepsie, New York, where my college was. I had the flu. I was sick as a dog, but I went up there. I remember exactly who was there the day. You know how some people say, "I can't remember something"? And some people say, "Come on, this guy's lying." It's true. To this day, if it wasn't for the fact that I have a diploma, says that a Juris Doctorate diploma, I can't remember one single thing about my law school graduation. I don't know where it was held. I don't remember where it was held. I don't remember who spoke. I don't remember who attended. I don't remember who I sat next to. Nothing. And it's It's really uncanny. I met one of my close friends that graduated in my same class, Theodore Bennett, several months ago, and early this year. Oh, excuse me, in the middle of last year, because one of the other guy, the other Puerto Rican who graduated in that class, a good lawyer, nice guy named Louis Davila. He passed away. May he rest in peace. Good guy. And we went to his wake, and he had his son there, and he says his son was already an adult. He said, "Hey Juan, you remember holding my son at the graduation?"
You were like,
"I don't remember. I don't remember. You were there. I don't remember a single thing." So wow. I guess I told you that some things are bad memories, but even though I gotta give all kudos to Marist and to Hofstra Law School, because I wouldn't be in the position I was in if they had not given me the chance. My mother couldn't afford a whole school. At that point she was a single mom. At the beginning, she used to sew gloves, and because she didn't have much of an education.
I was going to ask, what level of education did your parents have?
My father, my father had a high school graduate. He was like a bookkeeper / accountant, but he wasn't a CPA. And my mother had like a second grade education, Puerto Rico, and lived in una finca. Father, she used to cut sugar cane. They were very, very, very extremely poor. She was one of eight kids, so she didn't have much of an education.
What didn't you like about law school? Because you said you didn't like it, you didn't remember it.
I couldn't grasp it the way I grasped.
So everything else came easy for you in high school?
If I was to go to law school now, it'd be a breeze.
Would it be a breeze?
I think it'd be a breeze.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But how much of being a lawyer is the college portion as opposed to
you mean the academic
the academic portion to actually doing it and practicing it?
Well, a lot of people disagree with me, but for me, my opinion, academically, 40% academia, 60% practicing. Yeah. Because I'll tell you this is true. Once I studied for the bar exam every day from 9 to 6, and then sometimes I would still study. And I did that for about 3 months, almost 2.5, 3 months. Sheesh. And once you took the exam, I swear to God, about a week later, I forgot most of the stuff. You don't forget it, but you're just like,
of course,
but it's not right. It's like you're geared to take that exam, but after a while, you forget it. So when I went to criminal law is basically, you got to learn the penal code, you got to learn the criminal procedure, basically. But you also start learning what happens in court, and then basically what you do is that when you say about the academia is like, if you get a case and then, you say, when the facts of the case, you say, maybe a bad search. Let me look at the law. And you start looking at the law, and maybe you find some cases that are similar or closely similar. And then you see what the rulings were, what the decisions, and then you could say, I could apply that to this.
And how often did you find yourself referencing that about 40% of the time?
Yeah, about 40%. Because sometimes when you try a case, you really don't look. You look at the applicable law. You basically, what I used to do is after I get the indictment, I look at the top charges. It says criminal possession of a controlled substance in the first degree, basically narcotics. Okay, so I said I would look at the judge's charge, basically at the end when the jury, everybody sums up. He says, in order for you to find the defendant guilty, the prosecution must prove these elements. I would look at the elements of criminal possession of a controlled substance and see if what they have to prove. If they can't prove one of those elements, no good. So that's when you look at the law.
What would you say made you good or the best or one of the best at doing what you do?
I don't look. I can't never. I'll be very. People say I can't say I'm one of the best.
But I mean, you had a career of 48 years. I mean,
well, yeah.
I think
it's like you always get the question: how many cases have you won and lost? Oh God, I get that question all the time. I must have tried maybe 55 to 60 cases. You say, well, yeah, but not every case you try. So give me an example.
Oh, you mean like they don't all make it to trial?
A lot of them don't make it to trial. I was just going to tell you, if you get 10 cases, maybe 2 go to trial, because the other ones sometimes you could try to get them resolved by plea, or you could try to get them dismissed. Let's say I get a guy, I get a case, and the guy is. You look at all the evidence, and I go, at trial, this guy has a help. He has no chance. He made an admission. He talked to the cops. He admitted that he did it. He did. He got 3 eyewitnesses who said he did it, and they got him they got the weapon. They got his his DNA, or they may have his fingerprints on it. How are you going to win that? But then the prosecutor may come up and say, we'll ask you for like a ridiculous. We're recommending like 20 years, and I tell it to the client. He goes, I'm not. I know. I'd rather take my chances with a jury. So the cast is die. So you try your best. You try your best, but maybe he doesn't get convicted at the top count. But he made the decision, and it's a tough decision because it's like trying to hit a home run in the bottom of the ninth, and it's three to, the pitch count is 3-2, and you say you got to hit it. Could you hit it? Maybe not. But it's sometimes that's how sometimes you have to go. But I could say that in the latter part of my career, I don't think I lost that many cases at trial. I think of my last 12 trials, I didn't lose at all. But my next to last trial that I had was the most difficult trial I think I ever had in my life.
What made it difficult?
Well, yeah. This was in the year, I think it's 2019 going into 20, just before I retired. In fact, this case was the one that pushed me over the edge to retire. I was representing a young man. He was a young Mexican man. He was here illegally, but I got to say that because all the witnesses were in here illegally. And he had a relationship with a woman, and she had a daughter. She was 13 years old, but he and her had a child, 4 years old. They had a relationship.
So the daughter wasn't his?
No, the daughter wasn't his.
Okay.
But they basically lived together on and off. And then during the time that she said this happened, the young lady who was 13, 14 at the time, I think it was. She was 13 or 14, said it happened. She said she was raped by my client. They were living at their grandmother's house, her grandmother's house, which is the maternal grandmother. But I knew that my client and the mother were having a lot of problems. Not that he was violent against her or anything, but that they were having really, really bad arguments. And I think basically the mother wanted him to get out of the house. There was no way he wasn't doing that because it didn't happen. So she alleged that he raped her on, never forgot this, raped on May 5th, 6th, and 7th of that year. And it was the first time it ever happened to her. And she was crying on the stand, and I'm looking at my client. Looking at my client, and he said, afterwards, I said, no, I didn't. I never did this. I never did this. He was adamant. So he had told me earlier, before the case went to trial, to get into his Facebook account. I got into his Facebook account, and what do I find? Remember, she said that it was in cross-examination, it was asked, did this happen? Did that happen? Both facts. And she was crying. She said it was very traumatic that she couldn't sleep afterwards. I find in his Facebook account a video sent by her to him. His first name starts with an H. Okay, I'm not going to mention it. and by the way, my guy had no record. He had no criminal history of ever doing anything like that. There's a video of her playing with her stepbrother, who was 4 years old, and they're playing happy, and he's tickling, and she's tickling him. And she's going, hi, basically with smiley emojis. So I go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. If she says that this was the most traumatic thing that ever happened to the day before, and on the next day, she's sending a video like this, something is not right here. Then, a couple of that, there was medical evidence that said there was really no trauma. Because they examined the child to trauma in the vaginal area and all that stuff, despite the fact that they get these two doctors examined another doctor, 3 doctors examined her, and then one doctor was the only one who says they found a little bit of injury and trauma to her vagina, but she worked closely with an agency that represented children that were and I commend them to everything they do, but sometimes sometimes they can't see the forest through the trees, and I mean what that I mean is that they become so jaded, that's the word, that they will believe the child no matter what. And in this case, it turned out that she also said this was a big thing. She said that she scratched him on his back during the incidents really hard, and she bit him over here. It turns out that after being on the case for 2 years, and the day before the case is supposed to start, They turned over the scup was called her grand jury testimony. That's when I learned about it for the first time. After 2 years, I learned about it. That she bit him. They've changed the law in New York concerning what they have to turn over now. Now they have to turn everything over immediately. But back, in 2000
years.
Yes. But the night before, he turns over the discovery, and that's when I read about this. I said, and there were photographs. I go, what? And my file was like this. And it was cataloged and everything. And I looked at the photographs. I don't find no photo. There were 12 photographs. The next day, I come to the court and I say, well, there's 12 photographs here. What does it show? How come? And then I say, well, how come he didn't turn it over? He said he forgot. This prosecutor never forgot. I never trusted this prosecutor. Make a long story short, he turns over the photographs. They were like this high. Take it at the precinct in color. And
there's no
scratch marks and no bite marks. Plus, the last thing was, and this is the jury told me, because the jury spoke to me afterwards. She said that she got admitted into Stuyvesant High School. In New York, in the public school system, there's 2 high schools that you have to take an exam and you have to be, that's like Harvard and Yale.
Oh,
okay?
Wow.
You got to be the top of the class. And she got into Stuyvesant. When the prosecutor asked her, because she was speaking in Spanish with a translator, that's one. I mean, if you got into high school, how come you can't speak give your testimony in English? She said she felt more comfortable in Spanish. Okay. But she said she didn't know the Spanish, the English word for penis. And I go, and you got into Stuyvesant High School? So I didn't have a chance to check to see if she got it. But it turns out I don't think she ever got into it. I think she wanted to get into Stuyvesant, but she lied to the jury about that. In an innocent way. The child wasn't really lying. I'm sorry. You say she's lying? Yes, she was lying. But I felt bad for her because I said, why would she say something like this? And I think Mom put her up to it. And remember, they were not from here. They didn't know the judicial system here. I think Mom put her up to it to hit police to arrest him and get him out, not knowing that it was going to snowball until a trial like this. My guy faced a lot of time in jail. I mean, he faced over 20-something years in jail.
So was he in jail during the 2 years?
He spent a year and a half, almost 2 years at Rikers Island awaiting trial because they wouldn't let him up because of the charges. They were so serious. And thank goodness, the jury came back not guilty. And I remember when there were 15 counts. When it came to the 13th count, for the first time in my life, and I remember I've done a lot of trials, I broke down. It was so pressured. It was so much pressure. I broke down, and I was like, I put my hands in my head, and the jury knew that I was crying. I cried because it was just so pressured. I didn't want this kid to go to jail for something like this.
How old was he?
He was about 31, 32 years old.
Oh, so
33.
He was a younger guy. He was
nice guy, good guy. As a matter of fact, I tricked him a couple of times. I used to say to him, to find out whether he was telling me the truth or not, I used to say, Hoover, I got a great deal for you, man. Today, I spoke to the prosecutor last night. He's offering you probation. You walk out today. Yes, Mr. Campos, yeah. He says, but the only thing is that you have to admit that you did something in one of the counts. And he looked at me and says, Mr. Campos, you can tell the prosecutor that I'm not taking that offer. I'll stay here and take a trial because I didn't do this. Then I knew he was telling me the truth.
Wow.
Then I knew he was telling me the truth. Because he faced a lot of time in jail.
Yeah, 20-some odd years.
Yeah.
This is the rest of his life, pretty much.
I tried that case. I tried that case with another lawyer too. Another lawyer named Adam Sheldon, great lawyer. He helped me during the trial because the prosecutor had his supervisor helping him. So it was 2 against 1. So I said, let's level the playing field. So he had 2 defense attorneys and all that. And Adam was a fantastic lawyer.
Wow. And so all 15 counts.
No, the last count was a misdemeanor. I think because he violated the order of the protection. We didn't care about that. He already did the time, so there's nothing. We said they convicted him of that. Yeah, we actually told him if there's anything he's guilty of, is that last count. That's the only count he's guilty of. Everything else, no.
So what piece about that trial made you kind of just hang it up?
Now, mind you, I had tried child sex cases before. I tried 3 of them, and I thank goodness I won all of them. But this one was a lot different. I just don't know about. I think it was the fact that the prosecutor really was he was difficult to deal with. Later on, I found out that I think in my opinion he was dishonest. But it was just the pressure. It was just the pressure. So it was about an hour later, I walked out, and right there, 10 out of the 12 jurors there were waiting for me. They wanted to congratulate me. They want to, they were into it,
Oh man.
Yeah, they were there for quite a while,
And what was the reaction from the other party, girl, and from
They
the mom?
basically agreed with me with a lot of things we said. That they didn't believe her. They didn't believe it happened. And, the video, the no bite marks, and then this and that.
Her story wasn't checking out pretty much. So why did you choose the route of defense attorney as opposed to a prosecutor? Because there's a difference there.
Because the first job I applied to was with the Legal Aid Society, and they hired me, so I didn't want to take any chance of going to prosecution. That's all.
Really? That's all there was to
That's
it.
all there was to it.
It was the first opportunity, and you were just like, all right, I got to do something with this degree now that I got it.
Yeah. I got asked that question. Was I taught for 2 years at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. One day a week, I used to teach at Wednesdays from 6 to, I believe, 10 o'clock. The name of the course was The Trial of a Criminal Case. And I taught a class there. Yeah, that was just a little part-time. Yeah. Matter of fact, I took over from the second in command at the Special Narcotics Office. He was a buddy of mine. The first in command was a guy named Sterling Johnson. He became a federal judge. He was the second in command, and he used to teach the course, and he recommended me to take over for him because I think he left. He didn't want to do it anymore, and he was leaving the DA's office to do something else. So I took over the course from him.
Okay. What would you say college is like a make or break? Because I know you said you enjoyed college, but you didn't enjoy law school. Would you say college is something that's very, very, very important for somebody who's coming out of high school
Absolutely,
to do?
absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes if you go away, if you have the ability to go away from your environment, for me, it was an eye opener. Sometimes you just get homesick, sure, but after a while, that campus becomes your home. You get adapted to it, And then I had a routine. You got to set your sights. You got to have priorities. Some people use college as party time, and it could be easy because there are parties all over the place. But I had a rule. I said, from Monday morning to Friday at 1 o'clock, it's going to be strictly books. And I did my study, and I thought, once in a while there was a basketball. I took off to a basketball game or some other wrestling match or something like that. And you did something else, but it was no party. I figured that's just there. And then from 1 o'clock Friday to Sunday, maybe 6 o'clock, and
you let your hair down a little bit.
I partied. I hang out, yeah, and it was fun. So it was that kind of way that I maxed out thing. My senior year, forget about it. I was lucky enough because I had high grades, and the professors basically told me you didn't have to come to class, and I didn't go to most of my classes. I didn't. I had to turn it into paper. I turned it into paper, but I didn't go to most of my classes.
So I guess the follow-up question would be, considering that college was a lot more feasible cost-wise back then, with the cost of it now, do you think it's still something that an 18-year-old should come out of high school and think, if their parents aren't ready, if they're not getting a scholarship, do you think it's feasible for them to be like, hey, let me take out a loan for $100 grand, $120 grand?
They should do that in high school. They should do that if they're serious about going to college, do that when they're a junior in high school. Look for every organization that has grants and stuff like that you could apply for, and do it. But I really agree with I really agree with with the notion that it's ridiculous that you come out of, if you can't get these grants or scholarships, you come out of college and you're in debt, 50, 60, sometimes even $100,000.
Yeah.
You're trying to get a job, and once you get a job, you're not going to get a $100,000 job.
Nope.
And you got to spend years trying to pay off that. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. And, state universities, I think a lot of great state universities, but even state universities is getting expensive now.
Okay, so you think everybody should come out of high school and
you got to do it.
At least try it?
You got to at least try it.
Yeah.
You got to do it. If you can't do it that way, go to junior college first, and then go to 2 years, and then finish the next 2 years, and you can do it that way.
And then now, when you got out of law school, when did you go into a practice? Taking a quick break from the podcast to show a little love to our sponsor, National Risk Advisors. If you're a small business, you need to be covered. You need to protect everything you work for and make sure you have a proper policy in place to safeguard you against any type of liability. Call my guys over at National Risk Advisors. They can help you get a free quote, line you up with a business policy that's tailored to fit your needs. So what are you waiting for? Hit up National Risk Advisors. Tell them David from Blueprint sent you. Now back to the podcast.
There's an unwritten rule that when you took the job at legal aid that you were going to give them 3 years, and then you could do whatever you want.
Oh,
But it's not written in stone. Don't get me. It's not a contract. But
so you did all 3 years?
Yeah, I did all 3 years. But my supervisor, great guy. He became my partner for 30, I think almost 32, 33 years. His name is Richard Waswilla, one of the finest attorneys I've ever. Not because he was my partner. Very modest guy. He was my supervisor, and then he and I had a conversation one time during lunch, and we decided that we wanted to do something else. And I told him, look, I don't have that much money to go into practice. He says, I have a little bit saved up. I'll put it up, and then we'll go together. I said, okay, fine. And we did. And we left.
But at that point, you were still legal aid?
Yeah. He was.
Also, you went straight into from legal aid to your own practice.
Yeah, and he was in legal aid. He was my supervisor.
Oh.
Yeah. So
you guys just build a relationship.
It was called Campos and Waswillow. And we were there for many, 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 many years. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Suits.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there anything of significance of you having your name first as opposed to his name? Is it alphabetical order? Is it ego? What is it?
It's because my name was easier to pronounce than his. His name is spelled WOJSZWILO, and he never changed it. He was one of the smartest guys, a great trial lawyer, but in terms of academia, he knew the law
really
much better than I did.
So what was your strong suit?
In our practice, I was called kind of like the rainmaker. I could bring in clients left and right because I knew of so many people out in the streets. I had to think about one thing that you say. I'm not going to say I was a great lawyer, but I was a good lawyer. I never, I'm trying to maybe I'm too modest. People say I'm a great lawyer, but I always got results from my clients, and I never BS'd them. I always told them the truth. I was never one that said, if you give me extra money, I can promise, I guarantee you. No, you don't guarantee anything. My rule of thumb is be honest with them. Be honest, be fair. And I was always fair with my fees, sometimes to a fault. But he basically, I didn't know this. When he was in legal aid, there was an organization, there was a branch of the legal aid called MOB, Major Offense Bureau. You got the worst of the worst. These guys been to Attica, Clinton. These guys were
they're bad news.
Bad news, and most of their cases were unwinnable because the charges were so serious and the offers were so high that these cases all had to be tried. He never told me this for years, but someone else told me. Not only somebody else from legal aid told me he won 13 of those unwinnable trials in a row. That's unheard of. That's unheard of. He won them all in a row.
What was his first name?
Richard. He was very good. He's very, very good. And one of the nicest guys, one of my best friends I've ever had.
So you guys kind of complimented each other.
We only had one argument.
And the relationship was what, over 30 years?
30 years, one argument. One misunderstanding.
School, I should say. Your idea was to do the legal aid thing and then open up your own practice, or was it go work under and become a partner or work up your ladder, or however that?
I didn't know. I didn't know. At that point, I really, as I sit here now, I really don't know what I was going to. Had he not come up with the idea about going into private practice, I don't know what I would have done. Maybe I would have stayed there. Maybe I would have joined the DA's office somewhere, because that happens a lot. Lawyers leave for the legal aid, they go become prosecutors, and then prosecutors become a judge. I had the chance to become a judge,
even though you took a different route.
Yeah, when I was in private practice, I remember getting a phone call. He's a federal judge now.
Oh wow!
And he in Manhattan in the Southern District, and he used to be the chief counsel for Mayor Dinkins.
Okay.
And they were looking for. What happens is that the judge could make a recommendation for judges, to become criminal court judges first. Mm-hmm. So my name, my name came up because of my friend, because my friend who's now a federal judge came up. He was his chief counsel. So he called me up. He says, you want to become a judge? And at that time, I thought about it. And I said, you know what? I'm having so much fun doing this. I don't think I want to work for, become a judge. It's not now. And I didn't take it, if it was offered to me later part of my life, I would have taken it.
Well, what would have been the pros and the cons of you becoming a judge and stopping what you were doing?
I was making more money as a private practitioner than, at that time, judges weren't getting paid a lot. I like the fact that I was self-employed. I was independent. If I didn't want to come in, I didn't come in. But I usually came. I came in. But it's just like you're your own boss. Even though I had a partner, but we worked it out. It's like I got to do this. I got to do. Okay.
Yeah, you had an understanding. It wasn't like you had
Absolutely.
9 to 5.
That independence is it's almost like right now. If if I wanted to do something, could I work for somebody else? Yeah, it depends. It depends.
But do you think it's based on like your personality?
Exactly.
You got okay.
My personality.
Yeah.
I don't like people telling me what to do.
So when you got into it, like how quickly did you realize you were on the right track for something? Because obviously, there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong in going into your practice.
After about my 5th or 6th year in private practice, then I knew.
You knew that was it. Like you weren't going to do anything else for the rest of your life.
Couldn't say that. It was doing okay. We were doing okay.
And did he come to you like with a business plan? Did you guys create a business plan?
We created a business plan over. We met over lunch a couple of times, and then we decided this is the day we're gonna go.
So.
And our first office was on I think it was on 170 Broadway, directly in front of the Merrill Lynch building. Where the World Trade Center is, right in front of the Merrill Lynch building. That was we were there for about 4 years. Then we moved to the Transportation Building, which is down the street, again, across the street from the World Trade Center. And then we lasted there many years. And then we went to the building next to it called the Woolworth Building.
Oh, the Woolworth! I remember.
We were on the 38th floor, and let me tell you something. We were on the 38th floor, and my office faced the World Trade Center. How many times have I? Sometimes like I would look at the World Trade Center. I wonder what would have happened. You think about crazy things. What would ever have happened if this that World Trade Center, that building fell this way? It would hit us. Not knowing that. Years later.
Yeah, that would happen.
It would happen. I wasn't there. My partner was there, but I wasn't there.
Where were you when that happened? Now that you bring that up,
I was home getting dressed to go to court, and my wife called me. Says, "Put on the TV," and that's when the first plane had hit the first one, and my partner he called me on my cell phone, and he looked. He was told. I remember he says, "Juan, you won't believe this." He says, "People are throwing furniture," and then when he stopped, I believe he said furniture. Then he really wanted to see people. And then the phone
line went down.
It was people that were jumping down, and then he had to get out. He got out, thank God.
So your building was gone.
No,
when that happened.
My building was okay. The Woolworth. We were directly across the street. There was my building. My building was here. The World Trade Center was here, and Church Street. That was the street. It was right there. But it didn't collapse on. No,
it imploded.
It came down, right? So the Woolworth building is still there, and the buildings around it was still intact. But we couldn't get into our offices for 5, 6 months, 7 months, or something like that. Might be maybe a little short. I think my memory serves me right, but we couldn't get in there for that period of time. The federal government gave us some money because of the fact that we were affected by the buildings, the World Trade Center going down.
Wow, man, that's intense.
But you know what? At that point, I was hardly never there.
Yeah.
Because I was always running around.
Did you personally lose anybody in that tragedy?
Yes. I used to play stickball. They had a very well organized stickball league in the Bronx, and I was the vice president of the league. And the president of the league was a guy named Steve Mercado. He was a fireman, nice guy. At the beginning he was a tough guy to get along with, but after we became really good, we were really good friends. We became. I mean, we were good friends. We were friends, and I always did everything. We helped him with the league and all that. He was very good athletically. He was really a nice guy, and unfortunately, he passed away.
He was one of the guys that went in.
Yeah, and knowing Steve's personality, he's the first guy to help anybody go up the stairs, and strong built. He was a strong guy, smart guy too, really smart guy. I felt real bad that he, in fact, I quit. Not because of that, but I quit playing stickball after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't imagine what that day was. I remember exactly where I was that day.
Yeah.
We were already here in Florida, and I was walking into my homeroom class in, I think it was the 6th or 7th grade, and there was a girl outside that had just moved from New York.
Yeah.
She was outside in the hallway crying, and I walk in, the lights were off, and I was like, "What's going on?" And then the teacher was like, "Sit down, sit down, sit down." She had the TV on, and then that's when I saw the plane hit, and I was like, "Oh!" And then I was like, "Wait, but why is she's outside?" Oh, her uncle works in the building. She doesn't know what's gonna. God. I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And the whole school was like, you could hear a pin drop, and that school was massive. You could hear a pin drop
If you-
all throughout the day.
If you work from the 90th floor up, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And how many times have I been in that building?
My wife's aunt worked in that building.
Yeah.
And she didn't work that day.
I had dinner one time at Windows of the World, at the top.
Yeah. I don't, my parents said they took me there when I was like 3, but I don't recall ever going inside that building because by the time it came down, we were already down here, which was, it was insane. But tell me the type of capital that it takes for you to start what you started with your partner.
Well, at that time,
What was the entry
remember,
point?
I remember Cliff. I told him I had $1,500, but he says, "Don't worry about it." And I think it maybe took about $5,000 because what he did 15, and then he put in 3. We got an office, a small office, and we shared the office at the beginning. It wasn't too bad, but it was. The other thing that helped is that we got on this thing called the assigned counsel plan, meaning most of our cases were retained, but the assigned counsel plan is that you put your name into a plan in order to become what's called an 18B attorney. That means that if there's 2 people who got arrested, right, and they're accused of the same crime, legal aid could take one, and if they don't have money, I'm talking about, the other one has to be assigned to a private attorney who's on the plan, and they give you the case, and you'll be on the homicide panel, the felony panel, the misdemeanor panel. I was on the felony panel. I was too lazy. I was running too. You know what? I was running around too much to get on the homicide panel. My partner was on the homicide panel and on the felony panel, but I never really applied to the homicide panel because I always said, I'm too busy running around, trying to make money. If I'm on a homicide case, I'm on that case 2-3 weeks. Who's gonna be running around out of there doing? Nobody. So it worked out perfectly with my partner did it. Now I tried murder cases. Don't get me wrong, I did, but not on the plan, not on because I wasn't on the homicide panel. Privately, I did that.
So is your practice still open today? Like, what was
No. My partner retired about 10 years before me. Yeah, 2009, 2010 is when he retired.
So it dissolved? Did you
No,
sell it?
He just told me he was going to retire. I said, okay, and I understood that, and he retired. And I then it was just me, Juan Campos.
So what kind of agreement did you have? That he walked away from it and that was it?
That was it.
But didn't you have anything that you could, I guess, sell or
What's to sell?
nothing?
Nothing. People will come, they hire you, they don't hire you. That's it.
Oh, I
I
figured.
mean, when you have assets,
No, I mean, like, I guess just transferring, like, did you have like a book of business, I guess, is that you could be like, all right, cool. Hey, I'm going to sell this to you and give you a head start.
He would never disagree with me, but that I was, like I said, I was the rainmaker. I bought in a good 80% of the business.
You said he would disagree with you, or
He would not disagree with me.
Oh,
But he did a lot of the work. I mean, a lot of the like
like the leg work, like the admin work,
Well, no, not the actual
office work.
He would do a lot of, he liked to do. He was great on appeals. He knew how to do appeals. I really didn't do. I've done one appeal in federal court. That appeal, so that the appeal was, Judge, I don't want to get assigned to this federal appeal because it's not a winnable one, and that's the only appeal that I ever did. I did one big appeal. I had a federal case in the Southern District of New York, and the issue was that this is very interesting because you asked 10 criminal defense attorneys, how many of your cases have gone to the Supreme Court of the United States? And they'll probably, maybe 1 or 2 will say, raise their hand. I had 2, but the second one was the most interesting. The second one was in federal court. My guy was charged with another guy of making what's called a controlled sale to a confidential informant that was getting paid by the DEA. There's guys like that, okay?
I bet.
And they made a sale of narcotics, and they were in Manhattan. They were in a railroad type of an apartment, so that if you entered this way, the kitchen was here, and then there's bedroom, and then the living room here. So in the living room was where the drug transaction, a couple, I think a couple of ounces of cocaine. And when the DEA came in and busted, arrested my guy and the other guy, they searched the whole place. So they went all the way down to the kitchen, and the agent opened up the broiler section of the oven on the bottom, and they found more cocaine. Okay, a brick of cocaine, and on top of it, another package. And I never forgot the agent saying that it took him a while because he was wrapped in duct tape, and he kept going like this, going like that. And he unraveled it, and there was a gun attached with a homemade silencer to it. Now it was unloaded, if I believe, if memory serves me right. But at that, still the law is that if you're charged with a using, at that time it was using a gun during a drug transaction, and you get convicted of the drug offense and the gun carries a mandatory minimum of 5 years consecutive, not concurrent, consecutive to whatever drug offense you get. So if you get, so if the sentence is 10 years, you got an extra 5, so that's 15.
Oh man!
But if a gun is used and it has a muffling device, a silencer, 30 years consecutive. So they got convicted, obviously, of the drug sale and the possession of the drugs. And we were in front of a wonderful judge, very smart judge named Charles Hayes, and he thought that law was draconian. He said, "This doesn't. That gun was all over there. They found it after everyone got arrested." And he thought that 30 years for that was just not the right. So he allowed me and my co-counsel to try to convince the government to what's called nolo prosi, knock out that count.
What is it called? Nah.
Now, it's a term, nolo prosi. Maybe they could dismiss that count.
Yeah.
Because it was draconian. They wouldn't do it. And it took them a long while. They decided not to. Okay, so we appealed. So it got appealed. And I remember during my summation, I said to the jury, I said, look at the clock. Okay, look at the clock. Now, that's the time that my guy got arrested. My guy was, when the sale was taking place, approximately. It took the time that it took the agent to go to open up and unravel the package. It took him a while. It didn't take him seconds. It took him at least over like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, because he was wrapped real well. And then I said, that agent would have to unravel. I said, if my guy was going to use that, he would have to run over there, open the product section, unravel it, load it, and come back and then use it. To be used. That was the key word. At that time, the law says that even if a gun was in a safe, it could be used. It could be used. The Supreme Court, it was a judge named Sandra Day O'Connor. At the Supreme Court, she wrote a decision. And I remember I told Richard, because there was a case before us called United States v. Butler. Uh-huh. And it was the same issue, that there was a sale in a Volkswagen, I believe, and the gun was in the trunk. And they argued the same arguments with how could it be used. She said that gun couldn't be used. So the word "use" was, So make a long story short, I saved my guy 30 years of his life.
And what did he get?
I think he got 7 years.
Man, those are little nuances that you don't think about. Yeah. But then,
so I won. So we won. I won in the Supreme Court.
Man, that's really interesting, man. I didn't know any about that stuff. Like I said, I've never been in trouble with the law, so I've never knew how those processes.
No, but
anything of that stuff works.
In any civil or criminal case, you always have a right to appeal.
Huh.
You have the right. That doesn't mean that you're going to get the appeal.
So how involved are you now? Still
not that.
Not that involved.
I got a call 2 weeks ago from one of my old clients. He got arrested federally, which he never did. And this guy referred me a lot of cases over the years. But I thought about it. And I said, you know what? I don't think I want to take trips up to New York, and on this. So I referred it to another attorney. Meaning, I referred my client's family to another attorney. I gave them a choice of two or three attorneys to call, and they hired another guy.
So with the bar exam, that's like a national license, or are there different state regulations?
No, the bar exam, you're licensed in that state. Like people say, are you able to practice in Florida? No, although I have, but under circumstances. But I'm not, because you have to take. They don't have what's called reciprocity. They don't
recognize your license here, because that's the same thing with the health and real estate license.
Basically, it's to protect the lawyers in each state. Mm-hmm. So I would have to take the bar exam here.
Oh, so you have to take so there's no like application or try. It has to be the whole bar exam.
I had to take the whole bar exam. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? I guess would be the next question. Like, how many lawyers that practice in New York are I guess licensed in all 49 other states?
Oh no, not 49, but they're licensed maybe in 1 or 2 states. Maybe 3 at max.
Okay. Yeah, because it brings me to my next question, to kind of go back on the money component of it. If you're able to disclose, what was the most that you got made on one case, or the most that you made in a year when you were practicing? The
most I made on one case wasn't a criminal case. My partner got a case in New Jersey, from New Jersey. Unfortunately, little baby died in a pool because this couple had what's called an au pair, like a nanny. She lost track of the baby, and the baby crawled up under a pool. There was fencing, but she crawled again, and it either crawled over or fell under the cover of a pool. I think it was, and there was no fencing or something like that. And they sued. Another attorneys. We referred the case to another attorney in New Jersey, and we got a pretty there was a settlement in the case, and we got a pretty substantial fee over it for our referral. We worked on it.
Of course.
But it was, but basically, it was probably our biggest fee.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you able to disclose how much? Over 10?
10 what?
10,000?
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the fees are like.
Yeah,
it's like
it was
over 100,000.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And how did everything that came to your practice was all split 50-50?
Yes.
Even no matter who got it or who closed it or who.
Always 50-50.
That's interesting, man. That's crazy. So, what were some of the challenges in practicing that you wouldn't have faced if you gone a different route?
Good question. Well, the challenges was, I always told everybody, I was flying without a net. That paycheck wasn't coming every 2 weeks, so I had to go.
You mean?
Both my partner and I.
Yeah, of course. But your employees.
We had a secretary, but you had to go out there and make the money, and hopefully the monies came in. The referrals came in. I was very fortunate that I was told that by 2 or 3 clients that I had a reputation of being straightforward, honest, and I worked hard. They knew that I worked hard on my cases, and I got good results. I got pretty good results. Now, most of my cases, a lot of my cases didn't go to trial, but I got good results, good pleas that they surely faced jail, and I was able to work it out so they didn't have to go to jail, or I was able to get it dismissed procedurally some way. I'd look at a defect in the case or something like that. Try to do that. That didn't happen that often, but it did. But I worked hard. I basically cared about my clients. I worked hard, and they knew it. And I was the type that I always showed up in court. I told them 9 o'clock, 9:30. I was there at 9:25, 9:15. And if I was running late, I called them up and tell them, look, I'm going to be there a couple of minutes late. So that then I say, where's Campos? Where's Campos? I was always there. Never lied to my clients. So I got a steady flow of cases because these guys, a lot of these guys dealt with other lawyers in the past, and they know.
You had a reputation, so you built that reputation, and it ended up paying off, and it ended up helping you.
Yeah, and my partner Willow had the same good reputation too. He was always, they loved him. He's an easy guy to get along with. He was a great guy, but he was a very good lawyer, excellent lawyer. He's probably one of the best lawyers I ever seen.
Do you recommend the route that you took after law school for everybody, and what type of personality or drive do you think somebody has to have to do what you did?
To go straight from law school?
Straight from law school, and then have the longevity that you did of 40 plus years doing that essentially on your own.
I would not recommend anybody to go to private practice straight out of law school. Because you got to have a little bit of experience in what area you're gonna go into.
But you learned it, so you don't think that.
But I had 3 years.
Being the legal aid. So you would say, okay, so I guess let me rephrase the question. So if they were a legal aid for 3 years, coming out, would you recommend them taking the route? And what
I would recommend
characteristics do you think they need?
Work for a law firm, for a state agency, be it a prosecution's office. I would recommend that they go into get some work experience with someplace else. Legal Aid Society is fine. I think it's a perfect place to go.
If you can go back right now, would you take the entrepreneurial route that you did? Or would you go work?
I'd go work for an agency, but not the Legal Aid Society. I'd work probably for a federal agency.
Really?
Yeah, maybe try to get into the Justice Department or something like that, or if not, one of the there's a lot of federal agencies they need lawyers, environmental law, any kind of law.
Yeah. Why?
Because you get some experience. You get some experience there, and I didn't know whether I wanted to go into criminal law specifically, but
so you're saying do that because of the experience factor.
Yeah. But if you want to be, you see the entrepreneurial factor. If you want to be a defense attorney, you got to start somewhere. You can go to the DA's office and start trying cases there, and then leave. A lot of guys do that. But it's tough to go straight from law school and then you go into court, try your first case.
That learning curve has to be crazy.
You got to really, that's kind of like, and when some, you got a client, oh, how many cases have you tried? I mean, none. I just got out of law school. What? No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, you have no reputation or
Right.
anything to kind of
You got to have some experience.
fall back on.
Yeah.
What was I know you mentioned that you got a couple of big settlements. Can you share with me what was the best purchase that you ever made with, and along the lines of your career, and what was the worst purchase that you ever made?
Purchase,
yeah, something that you bought.
the best purchase was my home in New York.
That was your best purchase?
Yeah.
And what was your worst purchase?
I bought a club in the Bronx, so like a little
Like a nightclub?
Like a cocktail lounge.
Okay.
That was my worst thing.
And
actually.
why was that? Why was your house your best? Because of the appreciation, all that
Sure.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the club your worst?
Yeah, I was 2 years because you have to be there. A club where there's just liquor and all that. You have to be there. Have to be hands on. You can't work it from afar. I had a partner, but I don't think it worked out.
Yeah, you have to be very, very involved.
Our profits were going to pay other people's salaries, which I didn't think that was right, and then it was just very taxing. Very taxing.
Okay. And now switching gears a little bit, how long have you been married?
I asked that question to my wife the other day. I think we've been married 38 years.
38
It's
years.
my second marriage.
Okay.
My first marriage, my first wife, I married her when I was in my third year of law school. My second year of law school, at the end of my second year of law school. And we were married maybe about 4 or 5 years, 4 years. And then I got divorced. And then I remarried my present wife, wonderful lady. And we have one daughter. She lives here in Orlando. She's 30, she's 35. So yeah, 30, about 37, 30, 37,
that's
38,
your
38
only
years.
child?
Only child.
And what is she doing?
She works in the administration offices with Advent Health /
Rothman Orthopedic.
Yeah, both, but Advent Health.
How come she didn't take the lawyer route? Did you not want that for
Well,
her?
she got her
just didn't
master's
decide?
degree, and I own that in business, but she didn't take the. Although she saw me try a murder case, and she helped me with it. When She was in, I think it was in. She was in high school. No, she was in probably. Yeah, she was in college, and she saw me almost every day try this case.
So she was exposed to what you were doing.
I remember that murder case. I'm not going to go into the facts.
Yeah.
She calls it Rudy 1, Rudy 2. That was the name of the case. That was the name of the murder case.
Man.
It was an acquittal. I got that guy. Also was not guilty either.
So a couple more things, and we'll kind of wrap this up. What is some advice to have a 38-year-long marriage that you can give to somebody who's either just getting married or?
One, patience. You got to be patient, and the other thing is, you got to listen to the other person. Sometimes I'm not very good at that, even now, but I'm learning. Even at my old age of 73, I'm learning. I'm learning to listen to people. I always think I'm right. And that's a bad fault of mine. I'm not always right, but you got to. I think that's basically patience, honesty, and communication. You got to communicate. If you don't communicate, they ain't gonna survive.
Is your daughter married?
Yes.
So you given her that advice, and you and your wife had.
Well, I don't know if I've given her that advice. I think she's seen it, but we spoke.
She
about
witnessed it. Yeah,
we spoke about it. Yeah, I always say, if young people in high school or college are in love, I always say wait, or some people they disagree with me, but you don't have to get married. Live with each other, and if things work out, then get married. Saves you a lot of money. That's one thing. It's basically, what's the difference? I've seen some couples that are happy that they never got married. They've been living with each other. But always having the option to say, you know what, I don't think this is working out. It ain't working out. But if you live to get together and then for a while, it's going to work out, then have children. See? Because then it's going to work out, and then it's fair to the child. I had my first and only child. I wish I had some more, but it didn't happen. But at the age of 38, some men have children at 18, 22, 24, 25, 28. I had it at 38. But I think I became a better parent at 38 than I would have been at 28.
20, yeah.
I was still partying at 28.
Of course.
I'll tell you why I say that. I remember this story. A friend of mine just reminded me of this story. My best friend, one of my best friends, not my best friend, Tony Ramos. He still lives in New York. He was having a party I was in I think my first or second year, my first year of law school, and he was having a party, big party, and everybody there on a Friday night. Everybody was there, including my at that time was my first one. She was my girlfriend at that time, and they were partying and partying and partying, and all of a sudden I get a call from Tony, then his brother, then somebody. Come on, go on. It's like 10 o'clock. Come on out. 10, 11 o'clock. It's Friday, man. And they were trying to convince me to leave my studying to go to that party. And I said no. And they thought that was astounding, that I would not, on a Friday night, that I would not do it. And I didn't do it. Because if I'm committed to something, I'll be committed. My mother, may she rest in peace, I'll never forgot, she always said to me, my middle name is Alberto, she said, Juan Alberto, tú vas a tener mucho tiempo para disfrutar después que tú graduate. You'll have, what she says is, Juan Alberto, you'll have all the time in the world to party the way you like after you fulfill your commitment. She was right. She was right.
That's something my dad always tells me when I was
Let me tell you something. After I partied, my God, I partied. I partied a lot. But I also worked.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I had the same commitment I had in college. Remember that routine? I had sort of like a routine, and I never missed. I don't think I missed too many court dates. If I missed a court date, it was because I was really sick, but never if I was as a result of my body.
How important do you think it's finding the right partner, like you did in your wife, to your success and to her success?
Very important, because you want both. Each person has a they have a career, and they want to make sure that one career doesn't overstep the other, and vice versa. So you have to have a communication about that.
You got some good knowledge, man.
Well, there's a lot of good knowledge, but I don't think I have all the answers, but I could give some people, and I could give some people the
I think with your life experiences, I think it's definitely, that's why I chose you as one of my clients to kind of sit in front of and just pick your brain a little bit, because I know you lived a lot, and having the career that you had, I know you witnessed a lot, and you can probably reflect and advice probably better than most people, because a lot of folks, sometimes they don't get out of their bubble, but you were exposed to so many types of bubbles that you can speak to different cultures,
absolutely,
different races, different everything.
Absolutely.
So
I just hope that look, right now, I must say this, because you know how I am. We're in some difficult times right now, and unfortunately, we're going to be in difficult times for the next 3 years. But I think the world is really divided, and especially the United States is divided. When I remember I told you my 4 years in college were the best, it was because, there was no. There was no. I'm sure there was racism and all that, but there was no pointing fingers at this person, that person, because of their religious or political belief. Especially the political belief. It was like, all right, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. That's it. But nowadays it's just like it's just gone too far. One of the main reasons I think it's gone too far. The internet is the greatest thing, one of the greatest inventions ever made, and one of the worst inventions ever made.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, because the license to be allowed to say anything you want on the internet, to a certain degree, to a degree, but mostly you got a big degree. People get influenced by that, because people get bored watching the TV. So they listen to these some of these knuckleheads that won't express their opinions, and some of their opinions are not completely correct, and people swallow that and they believe that, and unfortunately, that's what poisons people's minds. You got to be an independent thinker.
Yeah,
you got to do your own research. I don't believe anything that's told to me on the media. I'm not a media person anyway. I don't look at Facebook, and people want to contact me. They know to contact me. My number hasn't changed. Say that's it. That's the way I believe. Maybe I'm an old timer with that, but I believe. Hey, I don't put my business out on the internet. I'll say, oh, I went to David Campos' office today. Why? What a great time. No, that's my personal experience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If I want to share it, ask me about it. But I'm not going to put this for the world to ask about it.
Of course.
That's just the way it is. Anyways, I'm going to be on YouTube anyway, so what
yeah.
does it make?
Right? And by the way, we have similar last names, but we're not related.
No.
My last name doesn't have an S. His last name has an S.
Unfortunately, you don't have an S.
Fortunately, I don't have an S.
I'm only teasing.
But I do get asked that all the time. Like, are you sure your last name doesn't have an S? And I'm like, Yes,
Unfortunately,
it's Campo.
But you're a great guy. I wouldn't do this for anybody.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. And, I know this is a little bit of a hike from St. Cloud.
It's not bad. It's not too bad.
But I do want to ask one more thing.
Anything you want to ask.
One piece of life advice for people that are either in college, graduating college, or just in a state of their life where they don't know what the next step is. What advice would you give them?
I think number one is try to find out early what you really want to do in life. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean what job you want in life, but what do you want to do in life? Do you want to go into politics? Do you want to help people? Do you want to be a nurse, a doctor? Do you want to help people in the legal profession, become a lawyer or a legal secretary or whatever? Have some direction. You want to go help the environment, anything that you want to go into. Doesn't necessarily mean a goal, but a direction. And then say, okay, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm put my focus on. And then try to shape your studies and life with respect to that. Always understanding that you could always change. You can always change. It doesn't have to be just that. You asked me a good question. How do I know being an attorney? I said, man, I think it was high school. Why did it? I'm asking myself now that. I said, why did I say that? Why didn't I say something else? Why didn't I say doctor, or something else? I don't know. But something drove me, and I had tunnel vision with that. I don't say that you have to have tunnel vision now. And then if you have a goal, I tell the youth right now is, please, look, there's always time for partying. You could do both. You could do both, but do it in moderation so that it does not affect your goal. Because ultimately, you have to reach a goal, and you have to have a plan. Plan to do something with your life. And if you want to plan to do something with your life, have people that you could go to support you, have people who you could go to give you advice, and people that you could trust, and always be independent. I believe that. My thing is this, and I'm sharing this with everybody. I have a lot of friends. Everybody will tell you, I have a lot of friends. However, if you ask me, how many real close friends do you have? Maybe 5, if they're that lucky. Now, I love all of my other friends, but those 5 will never deter unless they pass away. And I count on those friends. And why I'm saying that? Because I've never been part of a clique. Never. I've always been independent. However, I can hang with a clique, but I'm never part of it. You understand? Be independent. Be a free thinker, okay? And that's the goal that you have to have. But you have to have a plan. And the plan is, this is the goal that I want to reach. And have a support system to help you do that. It's easier said than done because it sounds like cliche, but it's really that. But I'm really big on being independent. You have to be, I believe, being yourself.
You have to do it for yourself.
You know that. Since you know me, I'm very opinionated. Yeah, sometimes too. But that's part of my independence. Because nobody's going to tell me any different,
Yeah, I feel like I kind of fall in that as well.
You asked me, could I work for somebody else? At this stage, no way. But I've been 48, almost 45 years on my own. On my own. It's scary at times because you fly without a net. But with the grace of God, I've been able to do it. And nobody's ever told me, you can't take a day off, or you can't do this, you can't do that. No. Because
I think that's priceless.
Yeah. That's the avenue I chose. Thank God blessed me with the ability to do it for this long.
That's amazing, man. You have amazing advice. You have a lot of knowledge. I think going back to what you said about becoming a lawyer, I think if you would have chosen to be a doctor, I think if you would have chosen to be anything else aside from a lawyer, I think you would have killed it out of the park, man. Because you're a very driven individual, and the characteristics and the personality that you have, I think.
No, I thank you.
You would have succeded in anything that you put your mind to. Because I think you're just that kind of person.
I thank you very much.
And thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. And we'll leave with that. This has been another episode of Blueprints Podcast with my client here, Mr. Juan Campos. Please feel free to like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.